everyone, I'm Sarah of Rich Textures Crochet and welcome. Today we're going to learn how to crochet the Rosebud Scarf, which you can see here in front of you. This is a gorgeous stitch pattern and it makes an absolutely wonderful, cozy crochet scarf. It's a fairly easy design to work, and I am working it using the Lion Brand Mandala yarn. Now this is one full bonus bundle cake, which has approximately 1,100 yards, almost 1,200 yards in it. If you're going to use a couple of the regular Mandala yarn cakes, which I'm showing you here, you will need 2 of these or 1 of the bonus bundles. You're also going to need a 5mm or an H8 crochet hook, and I will put links to these items in the description of this video. Our finished scarf today measures approximately 8 inches by 82 inches long, excluding this optional fringe, and the one bonus bundle will provide you with enough yarn to work your fringe and then just give you a little bit left over. A free written copy of this crochet pattern can be found on my website at richtexturescrochet.com. It's linked directly in the description of this video. So thank you so much for joining me. While you're here, I invite you to subscribe, take a look around, and say hello down in the comments. Let's grab our hooks and yarn and get started on the Rosebud Scarf. Now our scarf today is worked from end to end, so starting down at that short end, we're going to begin by making a slip knot. You're then going to work a foundation chain, and your foundation chain today will need to be 38 chains. There's 30. And 38. Now for row 1, you're going to begin by working a single crochet into the second chain from your hook, and then single crochet into each stitch all the way across. At the end of row 1, you will have a total of 37 single crochet stitches. Your chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Once you have come to the end of row 1, you're going to chain 3 and turn your work. Your chain 3 will count as a double crochet stitch. Now for row 2, we're going to begin by skipping the next 2 stitches. So you have your first stitch where your chain 3 is worked out of, which is a double crochet. Skip the next 2 stitches. Into the next stitch, you're going to work 4 double crochet stitches, all into the same stitch. Then chain 1 and work a puff stitch back into the same stitch. To work your puff stitch, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over and drop a loop to the height of your double crochet. Do that 2 more times. Yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop. You have 7 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 6 loops. 2 loops remaining, yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops. That is your puff stitch. You're then going to skip the next 5 stitches and into your next stitch, repeat. Work 4 double crochet stitches, chain 1 and puff stitch back down into the same stitch. You're going to repeat this all the way across. Skip the next 5 stitches. Into your next stitch, work 4 double crochet stitches. Followed by a chain 1 and puff stitch back into the same stitch. Repeat this all the way across until you have 3 stitches remaining. Once you come all the way across at the end of row 2 and have 3 stitches remaining, you're going to finish off row 2 by skipping the next 2 stitches and working 1 final double crochet into your final stitch. You're then going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet stitch, and turn your work. Now for row 3, we're going to begin by working a front post puff stitch around the post of the first puff stitch. To work your front post puff stitch, you're going to yarn over, and just around the top of your first puff stitch around the post, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, and do that 2 more times all around the post of that first stitch. Then yarn over, pull through 6 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That is your front post puff stitch. Then into the next chain 1 space, which is between your puff and that double crochet, you're going to work 4 double crochet stitches, chain 1, and puff stitch back into the same chain 1 space. You're then going to work a front post puff stitch around the post of the next puff stitch. So you're skipping those 4 double crochet stitches and work a front post puff stitch, followed by 4 double crochets, chain 1, and puff stitch all into the next chain 1 space. You're going to repeat that all the way across, skip the 4 double crochets, then puff stitch into the next chain 1 space, 4 double crochets, chain 1 and puff stitch. And you're going to repeat that all the way across until you come to your final stitch, which is the top of that starting chain 3. When you come all the way across at the end of row 3 and you have your turning chain and your 4 double crochets, you're going to skip those final 4 double crochets and just into the top of your turning chain work 1 double crochet stitch. You're then going to chain 3 and turn your work. Now for the rest of your scarf pattern, you're simply going to repeat row 4 until your work from the beginning measures approximately 82 inches, or until it reaches the desired length. So you're just going to repeat that row 3 front post puff stitch around the post of the first puff, and then work your 4 double crochets, chain 1 and puff stitch into that chain 1 space. Repeat that across, work your double crochet into the top of your turning chain, chain 3, and repeat. So continue that until you have about 82 inches, and then you can meet me back here. We'll have one more row to finish off the other end of our scarf before we work our fringe. Once you have worked your scarf until you have a total of 82 inches, I obviously have not done that. I just wanted to show you the final row of your scarf. So your scarf is going to be much longer, like my sample one there. You're going to, for your final row, chain 1 and turn your work. You're then going to work a single crochet into the top of each double crochet stitch and each puff stitch all the way across. So you're going to skip your final chain 1s. So single crochet into the top of the first stitch, then into your puff stitch, skip the chain 1, single crochet into each of the next 4 double crochets, and then into the top of your next puff stitch. Repeat that all the way across until you come to your turning chain 3. So I'm just skipping over that chain 1 space and working a single crochet just into the next puff stitch. All the way across until you come to that final turning chain. When you come to the final turning chain, you're simply going to leave it unworked. So you work into the top of that first front post puff stitch and then leave your turning chain unworked. You can then just go ahead and fasten off. Now for your scarf, I'll bring back up my sample one here. You can see that I worked a fringe just onto the end of my scarf, and you're welcome to do the same. Now how I like to work my fringes is I like to just cut lengths of yarn 8, maybe 10 inches, depending on how long you'd like to make your fringe. I used 4 pieces of yarn. You can use more or less, again, depending on how thick you would like it. You're then going to simply attach it in every second stitch all the way across. So take your yarn and insert your hook through the stitch that you want to add the tassel to. Then yarn over and pull through, and you're just going to pull it through so that your 2 ends meet of all 4 strands. And then I simply like to tie a knot. So it's a knotted fringe. I find this stays attached very well in the wash. When you're out wearing it, it's just an easy fringe to work. You're then going to just take your yarn scissors, and when you're all finished, simply trim the yarn so that it's the proper length and everything is fairly even. And then that's it. You can go ahead and weave in any ends, add your fringe to the other side, and that is how you work your Rosebud scarf. Go ahead and enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, happy crocheting. Bye.